If you are brave enough to try everything to grow your sales, you too could be a guest on the Sales Podcast. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the 187th episode of the Inbound Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Last week, we heard from Founder Magazine founder, Mr. Nathan Chan from Down Under. This guy is young and killing it, over 1 million followers in his various social media accounts, primarily being Instagram. So if you're wondering how to make money through social media, and especially through Instagram, head on over to thesaleswhisperer.com/session 186 to listen to the episode, as well as to get the notes and the links to the free report and free guide that Nathan has created for our listeners. Today we have Mr. Kevin Karner. He was with a startup. That startup was purchased by HubSpot. And if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that in the fall, actually September 30th of 2014, I purchased HubSpot for myself. I moved my WordPress website of nearly 9 years to the HubSpot COS platform, which is their acronym for CMS, which stands for Content Management System. So I'm blogging there. My landing pages are there. My entire website is on their platform. I love it. It's elegant. It's fast. It's optimized. The analytics are unbelievable. So Kevin, though, his company was acquired by HubSpot. He spent many years there. So he helped his initial company grow. Then he helped grow with HubSpot, and now he's back with his original team at another startup. So that's all I want to say about that. Don't want to steal all of the thunder from this great interview, but you are in for a treat hearing how he has grown from a startup, how he helped a big company get really big and go public into the billions of dollars of market cap, and now how he's doing it again. If you need your own help in growing your business, finding your vision, finding your voice, sticking with it to reach your bigger sales and business growth goals, check out the5.us. Jim Rohn always says, you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. So the idea is to come hang out with interesting, motivated people like us and get some clarity and grow your business. Once you secure your seat, everything is covered. Okay, you got to get here. Once you do, your hotel, your food, your entertainment, it's all covered. So 2.5 days, come get motivated, come get inspired, and grow yourself, grow your business. So again, check out the5.us. And now on with the show. Kevin Karner, all the way from snowy Boston. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How are you?
Doing well, Wes. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for putting up with my little technical difficulties here. You know, it's a Monday, and it's the day after my birthday, so I get a pass, okay? So lay off of me, okay? Get off my back, man. So, hey, you know, Dave reached out to me, and then I was checking you out online, and like I do with all my guests. And I love your background in sales and marketing with HubSpot, and now heading over at Drift, kicking things off. But for our listeners who may not know who you are, would you mind take a minute or two, give us a little thumbnail sketch, and we'll dive down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, sure. So formerly was at HubSpot, was a sales engineer for a while, and then built out an upgrade sales team that kind of sat alongside the account management team to drive upgrades in existing customers. Made the jump over here to Drift to join David Cancel and Elias. I'd worked with them at a prior startup that HubSpot acquired back in 2011. And saw the need to build a platform to engage with customers better. And so we've been cranking away at it for about 6 months now, and really excited about the opportunity and the space that we're in.
All right. So the company, what was it that got acquired? Was it Performable?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, cool. So you were with those guys. They got bought by HubSpot, and then did those guys stick around, or did they go out and invent some other stuff, and then y'all just hooked up again?
They stuck around at HubSpot. I think one of the big reasons why HubSpot is kind of where it's at today is because they stuck around and basically rebuilt the product from the ground up. So brought it to where it is today. They left HubSpot probably about a year ago today, or around now, and Drift's been in the works for the past about 6 months.
Very cool. So HubSpot made some smart acquisitions to grow, is what you're saying.
Yep, for sure.
You gotta like that. And so I would like to discuss that a little bit because, from the outside looking in, so I've been using HubSpot now for a year and a half, but really using it for only 5 or 6 months. And despite that, I'm still only scratching the surface. And from the outside looking in, people see a big company. I mean, HubSpot's well into the billions now in sales. But I would like to discuss that a little bit because I see a lot of entrepreneurs, and they think they have to do everything on their own. And like I'm a big Mac user, big Mac fan. And, they're acquiring companies and technologies all the time. So, I mean, having a smart merger, a smart partnership is a valid way to grow. I mean, could you talk about that a little bit, at least what you learned from seeing the acquisition and how the smaller company Performable actually helped change the bigger acquiring company?
Yeah, for sure. I think the big angle here was that when Performable was originally acquired, HubSpot's marketing automation was pretty lackluster. It was you have a list and you send an email or two, and that's about it. No logic, no kind of smart triggering. You kind of have to manually do all of it. And so Performable at the time was a single solution, just marketing automation. You pass us, stuff happened, and we send emails with some and/or logic in there. And HubSpot knew David Cancel for a while. Brian Halligan and them had known each other for a while, Dharmesh included, and saw that we were cranking away at this part of the product, which is where HubSpot really needed something to fill in. And so instead of going and building out a team to figure out how to do it, they just went ahead and bought us and got the technology and the kind of brains behind it in David Cancel to figure it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Were you like a co-owner of Performable or just on the team or what?
I was on the original team. I wasn't one of the founders, but right after them, a family friend of Elias, who was the CTO and co-founder at the time, and joined to kind of build out the sales team, similar to where I'm at here at Drift, and worked out really well for me. Very
nice. And so do you just prefer the small kind of startup environment? Because, I mean, it seems like HubSpot's really hitting their stride. A lot of people would say, man, I'm going to stick around and ride this out. But do you just like that energy, or why are you going back to the smaller startup?
Yeah, it's definitely the energy. Like most people, my parents, like everyone that I talk to are like, wow, you're crazy doing that. Like you're at a great company. They're crushing it. Stock price is going up. You're making a ton of money. Like for most people, the logical thing to do would be like, hey, stay put and you're in a good spot and don't screw up what's not broken necessarily. But I figure like when I'm 40, 50 years old, like, sure, I'll do that then. But you got to take some risk, do hard things while you're younger and figure it out versus just try to ride the easy train from your 20s.
Right. Amen. And hey, don't pick on the 40 and 50-year-olds, all right?
I'm not picking on you.
I'm still in good shape, man. I will go around. I'm going to wear you. All right. Now I'm fired up. Call me old. I'll be out there in November, man. You've been
cool.
warned.
Let's meet up.
You and me,
go to Inbound?
Thumb wrestling, okay? Best out of 5. It's official. It's on.
We got a date.
All right, it's on. Yeah, I'm coming out for Inbound. It'll be my first one.
Sweet. I've gone to 4 of them, and they've gotten bigger every year, and they're an awesome conference. It's so the content there is so much better than a lot of conferences that are just like people pitching products. Like you actually learn stuff.
All right, and I expect a mint on my pillow. Okay, I'm going to crash at your place, so just make room.
Okay.
All right, you've been warned. That's a double warning. Thumb wrestling, best 3 out of 5, and a mint on the pillow.
Cool.
All right. So tell me about now. So at Drift, what's going on there? What's your role? Because let's dive into selling. I mean, and making sales. Because you were growing that team at Performable, right? You grew it at HubSpot, and now you're growing it again at Drift.
Yep, exactly. So I guess we'll start with like what our product is. So we have kind of 2 products. It kind of got there through a little interesting route. So we originally were building a product for product marketers to engage with users in-app. And so like do NPS, show them about products, recommend things that they should upgrade if there's an opportunity for that. Really focused on like the customer side.
I got to slow you down. We got to define everything. You said NPS, right? Is that Net Promoter Score?
That is. Okay.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Let's not assume our listeners know any of this stuff because a lot of them don't. I don't want to use too much jargon. So when you say an in-app, so can you again, kind of let's take baby steps on this and explain what you were doing or what the app was doing and now what it's doing.
Cool. So in-app is if you're a software company, people are logging into your application, like you're logging into HubSpot or you're logging into Spotify or something like that, we're delivering messages inside of that environment. So someone would put a little tracking code so that we can do messages and you don't have to talk to a development team to do any of that.
So explain that then. So if I'm the owner of Spotify, I can just install your software and engage with customers and upgrade my own Spotify development? Is that what you're saying? Essentially.
So you could put our code into Spotify, and then through our tracking, we can say, like, let's get everyone who listened to Jay-Z's new album, and let's send them a NPS, the Net Promoter Score, to ask them between 0 and 10 how happy they were with that album.
Oh, very nice. So it's
do all of that.
So it's similar to a heat map, but I mean, you're not looking at where they are on a page, but you're giving insight to the company owner that owns the website, how people are engaging inside of their own browser or on your website, or is it just for apps?
In website, in apps, in mobile apps.
Oh, cool.
Really whatever channel your customers are kind of logging into.
Oh, very nice. So it's like Google Analytics on steroids in a way.
In some ways, yes. But the way that we want to think about it is we want to be really asking customers how they feel. If someone's logging in every day, that could mean that they are leaving as a customer and they're just trying to get their stuff out of Spotify to put it in Pandora. Or it could mean that they're really, really happy. So we're trying to take the next step of, okay, this is everything someone's doing. Now let's really ask them after certain actions, oh, are you happy now? Are you unhappy? How can we make it better? So you're really learning from customers and their experience.
Very nice. And is this for big companies to use, or is it geared for the small entrepreneur or startup?
It's geared for both. We're really focusing to begin with startup through sort of mid-size companies that have sort of a smaller team, smaller marketing or customer success type of team that would be able to take action quickly on this. So ideally, any company would want to use it. Big companies need to know how happy their customers are, exact same as small companies.
Right.
But we definitely want to kind of build for the little guys to begin with.
Yeah, that's good. Because, I mean, I see a lot of times, and I've experienced it as well, but especially with the smaller companies, I mean, they're just overwhelmed with keeping the lights on. And,
Exactly.
you know, they log in, here it is Monday, I plan on doing some work, and then boom, 15 minutes, I got to log into Skype because something messed up. And then, a client will say, oh, my software's not working. Now we got an emergency call there. Next thing you know, it's 5 p.m. I didn't do jack diddly squat. And I certainly didn't do any metrics on my website to see how people are running around. And to get that insight, hey, this page needs to be improved. Your Net Promoter Score, how people view you is trending down. And, you better, you just think things are bad right now. Wait till that score trends down for another 90 days, and it impacts revenue. So,
exactly.
Are you helping to educate the consumer, on how to do this? Because I've always seen in sales, we make the mistake in assuming that our prospects know what the heck we're doing. Mm-hmm. And it's like sometimes we scratch an itch they don't even know they have. I mean, have you run across that?
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit on one of the things you just said. It's like, especially for small businesses, you don't have those like large amounts of resources to spend like calling customers, asking them how they're doing proactively. It's more of a shit hit the fan and now we have to fix it type of situation. So we're trying to kind of bridge that gap there and be proactively outreaching through asking people, are you happy or not? Give us a rating. How can we fix things? At the right time, obviously. You don't want to ask everyone all the time and just create unnecessary work. But time it right so that you're getting the feedback and then you can fix problems before they actually become the problem where someone's calling you, hey, I want to cancel, refund all my money. Those situations you don't want to deal with.
Right. So what are some common mistakes your software can help people identify and fix? Is it just like poor UI, poor user interface, so the flow doesn't work? I mean, is it as little as change the color of this buy now button, or, are you seeing some common mistakes people make?
So it's a little bit beyond, like a little bit broader than just, hey, you need to change this color button or something like that. It's more of like kind of overall experience. Like, how was the buying experience? Was it good or bad? Give us a feedback, and then give us sort of an open response. What did you think about it? Or what could we have done better? So you're gaining that kind of numerical feedback. And for anyone who doesn't know like what NPS is, it's between 0 and 10. 0 through 5 are your detractors. Those are your like unhappy people. And then your 8s and your 9s and 10s are your happy people. Those are the promoters. And so you take the percentage of the happies and the percentages of the unhappies and you subtract them. And so you come up with a number that's somewhere between negative 100 and positive 100. And the best in class companies like Apple, their NPS is somewhere around 70 for their support, which is really, really good. Comcast is somewhere around 10. So really, you want a higher number, obviously. The industry benchmark for most sort of B2B software companies is right around like 32 to 35. So lots of room for improvement.
Wow. So why is it so bad? I mean, that's amazing. Fortunately, I haven't had to use Comcast in a long time, so I understand that. I mean, but that's terrible. The industry average is 32.
Yep.
Good grief.
And I think part of it really has to do with people aren't asking their customers, like, what's wrong? It's, do you want to fill out a survey? And most of the surveys people ask are, like, really long and convoluted and have loaded questions and just, like, take so much time. No one wants to answer them. And then you get halfway through it and you're like, oh, let me just skip all this crap because I don't want to finish it. So you're just getting bad data. Instead of asking very pointed questions, is this good? Is this bad? How can we fix it? And when you gain that data in an automated fashion, you can really put it to work so that you can get your 32. If you're a 32, you're not doing that badly. But ideally, you're above a 32 because that still means that a large portion of your customers are unhappy every day.
Right. Do you think people are just afraid to ask because maybe they're afraid that what it'll take is just too onerous? So they're like, let's just keep plowing ahead.
I think that's a pretty natural response. If you think there's a problem and you could either look the other way and pretend it's not there, or you could face it head on, most people naturally be like, oh, let me just get away from that. So I think, yeah, for sure. It's something people just try to avoid knowing about. Versus if you ask people and they tell you fixing things is not like the hardest thing in the world. So if they say the sign-up process is a pain and I can never complete my purchase because it takes forever and this step doesn't make any sense, like, oh, well, maybe we should fix that to make it better, make our customers happy. And people just need to ask those questions to figure that type of stuff out.
And have you found that if people complain but they feel listened to, that they turn around and end up with a favorable rating of you?
Yeah, I think a lot of times if you respond and fix the problem, oftentimes they're going to be favorable. Or even if you respond and you're like a human, you're like, sorry, it doesn't do this. Here's a closer solution, or we're thinking about that, or even just kind of giving them your sympathy, generally you're going to have a happier customer, unless they're just like very angry.
Right.
One other thing on that point, when I was at HubSpot, towards the end of my time there, I was building out this upgrade sales team. So we were going to customers. I sat next to account managers and kind of went to their book of business to find people that should buy our upgrades. And a lot of times you'd naturally think, like, let's talk to happy customers to ask them for more money. But an interesting thing we found is that people that were unhappy a lot of times would buy an upgrade because it would solve their problem. So sometimes you kind of have to go to customers and be like, I understand that you're angry with me right now, but I have this other thing you can give us more money for, and it's going to solve your problem. It's kind of counterintuitive, but it worked really well in a lot of cases because the upgrades that HubSpot offers can oftentimes solve some of the big problems that people are upset about.
Now, it seems like you're walking a thin line because maybe they were misled or misinformed or uninformed. It's like, hey, I bought your silver package and I thought that it would do what I need. Mm-hmm. So how do you thread that needle, right? It's like, no, I didn't lie to you. I didn't misinform you. It's just, you bought the silver package and it only does A, B, and C, but you need D, E, and F, which our gold package does.
Yeah, I think being, again, just kind of shooting them straight, like being honest. It's like we're not selling you something that doesn't exist in the first place. And it does, like a lot of times for HubSpot, people would need the reporting add-on. The reporting in the normal packages is pretty good, but if you want to go to the next level, you need the add-on. Or you can take everything and do it in Excel and take a whole bunch of time. So a lot of times it came down to that of like, yes, we'll give you the data, you could do it there, we'll give you the close to the right reports with the current setup, or you can use the reporting add-on, which gives you full customization. So a lot of times it's just being like, this is kind of the landscape of where you're at, and we can obviously fix it by having you pay more money.
Right. So let's talk about building a team. I mean, when you were at Performable, how big was the company?
We were 20 or 18, I think. 18 when we got acquired.
Okay. But when you started with them, you were like fifth, sixth employee?
I was fifth. Yep.
Okay. And so how long were you there before it got acquired?
14 months, 15 months.
Oh, wow. That was fast.
Yeah, it was quick.
And y'all were up to 18 employees?
Yep.
And so what were you doing to grow sales? I mean, what are some things you were doing that stood out that our listeners could and should be doing to grow their company?
One thing is talking to as many customers as you possibly can, and it's something that we're doing here at Drift even. It's like, and everyone should be doing it. A lot of it is like, oh, we could have free trials come in, and we could just blast the top of the funnel with free trials. But if they're just saying, oh yeah, sure, I'll try it, but they're not actually getting in there and using it, like, okay, maybe there's a disconnect here. Maybe you're thinking they're signing up for something that they're not actually. So a lot of it, especially like what we're doing now, is like, we're talking to as many customers as we possibly can, or prospects that we possibly can, to get them to just use our tools or tell us what's wrong with them. Like, we want you to be very like straightforward to be like, well, the chat doesn't do this, this, and this, and we need that. And then figure out, okay, is that actually a real need? And then solving the problem or choosing another way to go. But really aggressively talking to customers, and we have that from everyone in the company. Like, we have developers on calls, we have customer success on calls, David Cancel gets on calls. Like, everyone is talking to customers to hear the pain of like what people are trying to solve and building a solution around that versus just kind of guessing at what customers want.
Now, when you say talking, you mean literally talking, as in a human being picking up the phone and speaking to another human being.
Yep, it's pretty complex thing to do, but yes, on the phone, talking like you and I are talking right now, not email talking, not live chat talking, not like snail mail talking, like voice to voice talking.
You mean you can't just send a text or a tweet and get them to buy?
Well, you might be able to do that, but you're not going to know if they're going to be a happy customer or not, because they might buy a next month cancel because you didn't tweet enough at them.
I got you. All right. So you grew it to 18, and then were you on did they create a new team for you within HubSpot, or did you like get assimilated into a bigger team that you helped grow? I mean, what happened there?
So I went and sort of got assimilated into like a not yet formed sales engineering team to build out kind of that technical side of sales. Like, everything at HubSpot had been like, there were sales reps, and then there was like support, and if sales reps needed help with anything to like actually close big deals, they would go to support and like hope they got help. But I came over, and we sort of saw this need of like technical approach, and I'm a bit more technical person, so kind of built that team out, which went from when we started it was 2, and I think globally now it's like 50.
Wow.
So I was involved at the beginning of that, like figuring out how does a sales engineer actually like sit next to a salesperson and sell things? What do you do on site? Like, figure out all the processes around making that successful, and not just an additional headcount that you pay for no added value.
Yeah, that's awesome. Were you leading that team?
Yeah, at the beginning was leading it, and then as it scaled, kind of we got moved around a bit, but was leading it at the beginning as we kind of figured it out.
So how was growing a team inside of a bigger company similar and different from what you were doing at Performable when it was a much smaller and you were more nimble?
A lot of times it came down to like politics and things like that about like, okay, how big are we going to get? How are we going to be comped? How is this aligning with other sort of organizations like sales engineering is really based on like the sales number, but you can't just fully rely on that. So a lot of it's around kind of just figuring out the internal politics in order to make it work and to get the right people, both from internal and external. Part of the reason why I made the switch over to Drift is because you can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you don't do anything that's too crazy in a startup. And as long as you're seeing results, it's like, sure, let's try whatever. So it's way more interesting compared to, okay, these are like the set things that you kind of have to do and you just do what someone else wants. Right now, I'm pretty much in control of my destiny in a way of like, let's figure this sales process out and let's build out this really kind of kick-ass team and make it work.
So being on the inside of a bigger company but then also selling into bigger companies, what are some tips you could share with our listeners that may be doing a B2B sale and they're making a sale to a bigger company? Because we've always seen advice, like I've had Anthony Parinello on selling to Vito, the very important top officer. And so some of the conventional wisdom is call at the very top and then work your way down. And others are call on the person that buys your stuff. They could be 7 levels down from the CEO. Yeah. And some will say work from the bottom up, work with the technician, actually hands-on with the tool and get recommended up. So, I mean, having sold into bigger companies and then working inside of a bigger company, what would be your advice for B2B sales to grow faster?
Sure. So I think for all three of the products that we've been talking about, Performable, HubSpot, and Drift, we're all pretty similar. But like a technical product that like a marketing team generally would be the one implementing. And what we've seen as success and what I've seen across the board is like usually you want to go to the buyer first, talk to your buyer, and get them really bought in on like what can this solution do. And so sometimes that's 7 layers down. Sometimes it's VP of marketing. Sometimes it's maybe even CMO that might be the buyer. But finding the buyer at the company that's going to be the one that really recommends it, and then going from there to talking to the technical team. A lot of times, and what we're seeing now is like the buyer can be totally bought in on what Drift can do or what HubSpot could do, but then it goes to product and product says, oh, we could build that, or oh, we could do something different, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times that sort of internal champion, user champion you have doesn't have kind of that as much buy-in as you do as a salesperson, or doesn't want to push as hard as you would as a salesperson to make that sale happen. So they're like, okay, I guess you can build it, and then your deal dies. So what I like to do is get right in front of that technical buyer and explain to them like, okay, this is what Drift does. This is what's going to save your company from doing internally, how much dev time it would take, so that they really see the value from their perspective of like, okay, well, I'm not going to have to expend resources on making this happen. Instead, marketing gets off my back. I do 1 hour of work and save myself thousands of hours. So it's really kind of helped paint that picture from the technical side, because then when it goes to the top, to the whatever CEO or someone that actually is going to be the one yesing it, it already has kind of 2 champions internally. Dev from the side of we save time, marketing from the side of it does exactly what I want to do to kind of do my job.
Right. Now, how do you find the buyer in the first place? I hear salespeople all the time, I'm great once I get in front of a qualified prospect. Like, well, no shit, Sherlock, right? So, I mean, how do you find that right person to even begin the dialogue?
I think a lot of it comes down to just grinding. I don't think there's like a silver bullet a lot of times. I think a lot of people say there is, like, oh, you just can like feel it or find them. And I don't think there really is. I think you're going to try to talk to everyone that you can based on like who's filling out your inbound leads, like the people that you're engaging with on the website, and then just asking them a lot of times, like, are you the one responsible for buying this? Being straightforward in your questioning to understand like, oh no, they're way lower, or they're higher and their colleague would be the one that would actually be the one using it or buying it. So I think a lot of it comes down to asking. It's not just like you can go into LinkedIn and throw in a VP of marketing sort and find everyone that works at a company over 200 employees and there's your list. I think it's a lot of times all over the place. Especially at HubSpot, like you could have a buyer that's like a social media specialist could actually purchase the software, because a lot of times they need it for a point solution and it's under whatever budget they have. And other times it's like the CEO is the one buying it. So it's everywhere in between. And I don't think there's like a line somewhere. A lot of people probably think they have one, but it's just kind of made up.
Now, are you banging out cold calls? I mean, are you looking up people on LinkedIn and reaching out? Are you doing some inbound marketing, following best practices from HubSpot, or all the above?
Pretty much all of the above. We're doing a lot of inbound marketing. Obviously, a lot of us came from HubSpot and see that it works, so why not do it? But then we're going to good old-fashioned, traditional, like cold calling, cold outreach, finding people, especially like in the Boston area. Everyone that's in startups in the Boston area pretty much knows David Cancel, so it's an easy in of, hey, David's wants to chat with you and understand if you like our product. So it's pretty much the try everything stage right now. Inbound's been working great for us, driving lots of traffic, lots of leads, and some good volume there.
Are you doing PPC?
We're just starting a little bit of PPC and a little bit of like social, like Facebook, Twitter ads. A lot of it around retargeting people that have already been to our site. So they went to our site, they didn't sign up for a free account, target them on Facebook and things like that. So we haven't gone full PPC, like searching for sales live chat or in-app NPS or things like that just yet. It's certainly something that we have budget for and will be doing over time, but we haven't gotten to that part yet.
Can you talk about retargeting a little bit? Because I've discussed it here and there over the last year, but we haven't really didn't dive into it deeply. But can you talk about that a little bit, or do you have your hands in that pie?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with, I think retargeting works really well because I'm a pretty outdoorsy person and buy a lot of gear online, and I generally buy my stuff from backcountry.com, and the way that they generally get me to buy is I go and I look at a bunch of things, and I'm like, oh, those jackets are so nice but so expensive, and then I go to Facebook the next day, and there's an ad right there for the same jacket that I was looking at, and it gets me back, and then I buy it. So I personally, get lots of money taken from me because of retargeting. And so the way that it works is Backcountry or Drift or anyone sets up a tracking code from whatever ad platform you're using. So from Facebook, there's a couple retargeting specific companies that get their ads all over the place. But Facebook and Twitter do it. And so you put the Facebook code on the site, people visit, and then you say, if they haven't done something, so they haven't fully registered for an account, you can define that action. You say target them back on Facebook and with whatever ad. So now they have probably come from some sort of inbound traffic to your website. They've looked at your content, so you didn't buy them to get them there in the first place. They've read a bunch of stuff about you, probably looked at pricing and whatnot, maybe read the blog, and then they just leave. They didn't take any action. Now they go to Facebook. Facebook knows that they were just on our site. They're looking at everything we do, and they pop an ad that says, hey, you want to check out Drift? And so now there's that connection that's being made in their mind about, I've already seen this. And it's very similar to thinking about, billboards and TV ads and stuff like that, where the first time you see it, you're not going to take any action. The second time, probably not. It's they say it's the 21st or 23rd time someone sees something, they actually go and proactively buy it. And so it's just getting it in front of them over and over again, so that maybe it's the next week they see Drift in a tweet or something. Not paid, but, oh, look, there's Drift again. There's Drift again, here, there, and everywhere, and slowly get them back to the site to engage. And so it's been working really well for us to get those people that read stuff and kind of just popped off after reading a single article to take that extra step and come back again.
Yeah. I mean, for lack of a better term, it's digital stalking.
Yep, exactly.
But instead of running your ad and just putting it, let's say in the Wall Street Journal for all the world to see, it's like picking the 87 top little markets and regional newspapers where the exact people that are looking for your stuff, then you can run an ad only in those 87 newspapers, instead of in the big one. So it's just what's called retargeting, right? Because it's very targeted.
Yeah, it's digitally stalking the people that are interested in you, essentially.
Yep.
You're not trying to find people, stalk people at companies that might be of interest and blast messaging in front of them. It's saying, hey, you already looked at us. Do you want to look again, essentially?
And it kind of goes back to the old adage, in sales and marketing, that people buy after the 7th to 12th touch.
Yep.
And that touch could be a voicemail. It could be a postcard that you send, an email that you send. And here it's a little more subtle because the ad, you're just following them around. And so it takes a little more. But, I mean, they're seeing your ad everywhere they go because most of the platforms, that people visit are tied into this Google ad network, right?
Exactly.
Very cool. But now the focus that's where that inbound marketing comes, right? Because now you got to get them to your site to be able to put the cookie on their machine, on their IP address to even retarget them. So what are you doing to get people to your site in the first place?
So it's a pretty big combination of a lot of stuff. Like we're pretty heavy on blogging content, just on our internal blog. We also are pretty big on Medium. We have a guy here, Dave Gerhardt, that's really awesome in the content department. And so we're just like cranking out content. And we found that Medium does a really good job of getting your word out there to maybe people that aren't necessarily like just sitting on Google and searching for random terms. Like that's going to get you people to your blog or to your website pages. But to get people to just see you as a company, Medium has been a pretty great channel for us to get content that's in the similar space to us, but actually really valuable. And once people start recommending it and reading it, liking it on Medium, it drives pretty high volume. We've had articles in the top 5 articles of Medium the last like 3 weeks in a row. So it's been very helpful to get our name out there on a broader audience than just people searching for pretty specific terms on Google.
So do you have a magic ratio? Like, is it 2 to 1? 2 on your blog, 1 on Medium. I mean, how do you divvy that up?
I don't think we have a magic ratio yet. I think that's something we're working on. We've pretty much been posting the same amount of content to each. I think we're at like 2 posts a week to each and seeing how they work. We have a lot of people in here that are writing content. So like David Cancel's writing it. Our VP of marketing is. A lot of people are writing content. I'm writing content. And so we're just trying like different types of content, different writers, different channels, both Medium and our internal, like our main website blog, to see what works the best. But it feels like we should be weighting them pretty close to the same because of the amount of traffic. I would almost say that we're feeling right now that we should weight Medium a little bit heavier just due to the sheer volume of traffic that it's sending both to our content there as well as back to our site. Yeah.
I mean, have you tested like writing a blog post on a Friday after 3 beers versus Monday morning after 3 coffees? I mean, have you seen good or bad?
I haven't. I feel like that would be a good test. I'll actually share that with Dave afterwards because he feels that I write better content after having a couple beers. So I'll share that test with him and see if.
I just got you an idea. Let you drink on the job. I'm a giver that way. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I visited HubSpot for the first time back in November, and good grief, that little break room. It's not a little break room. That's just where I hung out for 3 days, man. I just sat there drinking coffee and then drinking beer and then eating some cereal and then drinking some beer. It was a very productive 3 days.
Did you actually drink the coffee or did you just use a coffee cup for beer?
No, I drink the coffee. I mean, it would be like the vodka Red Bull kind of thing. It was like a coffee beer sort of. I mean, it was just my body didn't know what was up. It was insane, but it was good.
Yeah, they're fun offices.
Very cool, man. Well, one of the last questions I like to ask people is, imagine our listeners are, they're on a plane, they're jogging, whatever. They can't do anything with this podcast right this moment. But let's put a little bug in their ear. I mean, what would you like people to do once they can get somewhere and take an action? And, what should they do? The number one thing today, tomorrow to grow their business based on your experiences, as a salesperson, as a sales manager, as a startup, across the board. What would you say is kind of your number one tip they should go implement?
I would say the biggest thing is talk to customers and don't limit your talking to customers to like support reps and BDRs setting up meetings. Like it needs to be everyone from the top down saying like, what are these customers doing? Are they happy? Are they unhappy? And where do they fall? Ideally over the phone, getting them in live chat and other like mediums like that where it's not like a very delayed like email-based conversation, but getting them to have a conversation with you to understand how you could make things better for them is the way to go, both from like the retention side of like keeping customers happy and also from the side of getting them there in the first place. If you're a human to them and you're engaging with them, people are going to want to buy from you compared to, oh, you're just responding to support tickets. No one likes that. Yeah. You want to talk to a human, and that's how people are.
Yeah. Amazing. Just be a human being.
Yeah, it's not even that hard. We all know how to do it. Just got to do it more.
Just shocking, isn't it? Everybody looking for that silver bullet, the easy button, the shortcuts, like it does not exist. Pick up the phone. You always try to remind people, you're a human being selling to another human being. When I was, right when I started the Sales Whisperer, 06, 07, I got a 10-month engagement with Dell. And at the end of the day, though, it was Wes doing business with John and Julie, not the Sales Whisperer doing business with Dell.
Exactly.
Always say, it's just business. Say, you know what? Business is personal. At least it is to me. I don't know. Is it personal to you when you're talking to somebody trying to make a sale?
Yeah, exactly. I like to say I will sell to people how I would want to be sold to. I don't want people like just being annoying all the time, trying to follow up for stuff that's dead. Like, it's just sell to people how you would want to be sold to and be a human. There's no silver bullet.
Yeah. Amen. All right, Kevin Karner, we will have links to your Twitter profile for your businesses, for your personal profile, and this will be on session. So check out the saleswhisper.com/session187 and get all the notes and the links and see how they are giving away lead magnets and retargeting and all that other good stuff to help you make more sales. Well, man, thanks for taking the time and coming on the show.
Thanks, Wes.
All right, dude. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
I don't know about you, but I find it inspiring when the great advice is the simple and the straightforward and the common sense advice. I think those always go hand in hand. Hearing Kevin talk about, reaching out to customers, ask them what's wrong, pick up the phone, send them an email, right? Hear from them directly. One thing I would take a little differently than he does, he talks about having sympathy for your customers, and I think that's fine. I'm more of teaching have empathy. I think great salespeople are empathetic, and the difference is you can see things from their vantage point. You understand what it's like to walk a mile in their shoes, but it's seeing the downtrodden and understanding their pain and then staying above them so you can give them a helping hand and pull them up to you. When you're sympathetic, you just crawl down in the gutter and lay there with them. So, I'm splitting hairs to a degree, but, we understand his point, and that is to see things from their point of view, feel the way they feel so you can help them, and then you can convey that. When the customer feels heard, then they will listen to your recommendation. They'll take your advice. Just like a doctor, I use that analogy all the time. When they come to a diagnosis and write a prescription, you're more likely to follow it and less likely to go get a second opinion if the doctor took time to examine you and ask good questions and really go over your charts, your blood work, etc. You feel confident in their confidence of their diagnosis and prescription. So make sure your customers are feeling heard. So I love Kevin's story here. I hope you got a lot out of it. As always, you can go check out thesaleswhisper.com/session187. So any of the episodes that you hear, just type in /session and the number. So Kevin is session 187. You can get the links to the different books we talked about from Jay Baer. We link over to Jay Baer's session, which is way back in session 15. I've been fortunate enough to know Jay now for a couple of years, and he's the real deal. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, if you need some clarity, if you want to hang out with 5 motivated entrepreneurs, like Jim Rohn says, you are the average of the 5 people you associate with the most, then check out the5.us. That is going to help you grow your business. You're going to come hang out with us. Once you arrive, your lodging is paid for, your food is paid for, your entertainment is paid for. So just get here and grow. It's the5.us. And please leave a comment on this episode, share it, give us a 5-star review on iTunes, and as always, remember to sell different.